They're very much part of what's known as the alternative scene, i.e. they shun publicity. You don't see them on television very much. So, the Cocteau twins' first interview. Can we talk about that dreaded word, image? Because although, I mean, you probably don't go out of your way at all to create an image, there is an image that people have of the Cocteau twins, isn't there? But what do you think it is, for a start? How do people perceive you?
What they read in the music papers is what they decide. But that doesn't represent anything, that's just
that was the first time we found out we had an image was when we read it in the music papers.
Right, well, how are you portrayed then?
How are you portrayed? Well, sort of cutesy, innocent, you know, all that kind of rubbish. Just because you talk quietly or find it difficult to talk about yourself, or you know, you fidget or something, they just zoom in on these things that you do and then immediately...
We just done we've done an interview for Makeup.
Yeah.
And I swore a lot in that one. I don't know what happened, but I swore a lot in that one. And we do swear. We do swear. And so there was this letter printed a week after that, you know.
So shocked. Yeah. God. This phrase I never knew.
Because I thought you'll never do this hit again.
That's extraordinary. Well, and do you feel that maybe you should expose yourself some more so that people don't get the wrong idea about you? I mean, obviously you don't like it when people think that you are
people sort of make up, it doesn't matter. I mean, people had made up their mind that that's what they were going to write about us anyway. I mean, that's true.
But if that gets under your skin, which it must do, I mean, don't you want to put the record straight?
You can't. People have already made up their minds about you. And if you do something really bad, like get sort of arrested or something.
Well, it doesn't get under your skin that much, it only does it if you think it's important. But I mean, there are other things I think that are more important than what people think of what you look like, or that kind of thing.
It's an odd sort of contradiction though, isn't it? Because surely, I mean, as performers, which is what you are, it's quite an odd thing that you should be such private people, and I mean, because most people who are professional performers are only too eager to sort of throw themselves into the public eye or whatever.
I wouldn't describe us as performers.
How would you describe yourself then?
I don't know, but performance seems very sort of loud.
I only went into far that music is a performance art, isn't it?
Not if you want to do it once.
You play live.
Yeah, that's one of the side effects.
We do perform, but when we don't put a show on, we don't make we're not actors. Like there are bands that, you know, they find it very comfortable to get up on top of the pops and prance about, you know, or whatever. That may be a bit, you know, negative, but whatever, or do a show with flashing lights and that kind of thing. But really, we're just trying to put the music across, because that's what's important, not three individual performers, if you like.
Is it fun? Yes.
It's what fun.
What you do? I mean, obviously, I mean, you don't want to be saddled with this, like, you know, terribly earnest image. I mean, that must be a bore. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, there must be a light-hearted side to what you do, and there must be enjoyable aspects of it, rather than just being sort of work.
I think we enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun, but
we do it when we enjoy ourselves.
So when you don't have to explain why, it becomes difficult. And recording's fun, and just, you know, being together and playing, all those things are fun, but I mean they're serious as well.
So you classify London as home now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but it's something nice to live. Don't.
We're even getting sick of it now because we've been here for a wee while. You know.
Well, perhaps you could just fill us in on a bit of the background of the Cocteau twins. When did you first start?
3, 4
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
When?
We
Where?
started
Where and when?
yeah, about 4 years ago I was in Scotland, in a small town where we came from, called Grangemouth. Wait a minute, I've got to take my phone. Can't finger it. Right. Anyway, where was that? Oh yeah, Grangemouth. Lovely place.
The hub.
Centre of the universe, I thought.
And you both grew up in the town, did you?
Oh yeah, it's such a sweet place. There's all these, the scenery is sort of incredible. Do you know a great big country? Have you seen sort of recently the advertisements for the LP?
I haven't seen the video, I've seen the ads for the LP.
Steel Town, and there's a great big sort of industry place in the background. That's Grangemouth. That's where we come from, that place.
You used to work in the BP, didn't you?
I did indeed, used to make petrol.
That's what it all is, you see, it's BP.
Yes, Stuart Adamson's actually, I think, my fifth cousin, because believe it or not, because my ancestors left Scotland for Australia in 1838 or something, and they came from Dunfermline. And his surname was Adamson, but Stuart Adamson's family have always lived in Dunfermline since the 17th century or something. So I spoke to Stuart briefly, and he said, we talked about this, and said, we must be related somewhere, fifth cousins or something like that.
God.
It was quite amazing. It just sort of came up by chance. Anyway. Did you have any classical training musically?
No.
What was the prompt just to get you interested in music?
I don't know,
There was always a guitar in the house from when Robin was really small.
But nobody could play it, so I tried to play it. But I think it started to sort of
Actually
playing together with
boredom,
these sort of, just being sort of bored shitless all the time. And with sort of, I don't know, punk music and things like that.
Yeah, that inspired us.
That's what sort of started us off.
That's what it was getting.
That would be sort of after that, but it takes you a little while to get yourself together, doesn't it?
But when you first started working together, did you have any aims that you sort of said, we want to do this or this?
Any what?
Any aims?
No. We didn't sort of.
We didn't.
We just wanted to be good, we just wanted to get
We
better all the
didn't,
time.
when we started, the first sort of year of our existence, we played a lot, but we didn't actually play any gigs. We just played for ourselves,
We
really.
didn't really.
There was never sort of wanting to play gigs or anything like that. We didn't want to.
At the time it wasn't sort of, we weren't really thinking about how many people would get to hear us, or we weren't thinking about anything like that, because we were just playing for ourselves and...
Not thinking about records or anything.
Yeah.
Right. And Garlands was the first album that came out in 1982.
Yeah, 1982.
Was there anything else before that came out?
No, that was the first thing we did.
And did you do a Peel session before that, or was that just after?
No, well it might have been sort of, I don't know, it might have been after we recorded it before it came out.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So, do you think he was fairly instrumental?
Well, the way that we got sort of involved before AD, it was thanks to some sort of, it was Australians.
Oh.
Yeah, wasn't it? Well, we used to like the birthday party a lot when they first came over here. Well, we were the ones that clapped, you know. There's two of us.
Like everyone was sort of...
And we used to sort of follow them about, and we got to sort of know them a bit, and they put us on to Ivo at 40 Day, because they were on 40 Day at that point. And we just made a sort of little tape. Well, we made two tapes, and I went to London with him, and I gave one to Ivo and one to John Peel. And John Peel wrote us back a nice letter saying he thought it was really good and everything. And Ivo sort of phoned us just when we got home and said, "Hey, you want to come and make a record?"
Right. How did you feel about that?
Oh, it was good. It was we were so naive and into what we were doing so much though that we almost sort of expected, you know.
No, because we weren't really thinking
Did
about
a bit
it. We
sort of expected that, you know, of course we're going to make a record. We're fucking good, you know, no trouble.
I can't actually remember
What's the radio interview, innit?
No, that's fine.
like going from sort of sending out a tape to get a record deal or whatever. I don't know, I can't remember feeling any different. I can't remember, because you must have changed.
It's like, that was the only label that we was interested in because we liked some of the music that was sort of on it at the time. We didn't sort of like it much else. Like we couldn't sort of picture ourselves for anything else.
Right. Do you, what do you think of the things that Nick Cave and his cohorts are doing now?
I like some of them. I think it's just a sort of shame, you know. I mean, it's sort of, he's got to keep doing it really, but it's past the sort of stage. It's just a big sort of parody now.
Did you go and see him live, or have you seen him play live recently?
Yeah, it was
the last
2
time I
months
saw him.
ago.
No, it was earlier than that. It was way more recent than that.
It was a few months ago. They played it at Songwriting around there.
Oh, yeah.
A wonderful jacket. Yes,
Hell of a
just like
jacket.
it. Yeah. It was rehearsing next door
It was
to him.
wonderful.
It was in the studio in Camden. Every time we stopped playing we could hear sort of Hey Jude and things coming from the rehearsal room next door. Right.
Just looking at my notes here. Your music, it's fairly personal, isn't it?
I don't know, is it?
Well, it seems to be. I mean, that's the kind of impression that one gets.
It would be if we didn't make records and kept it all to ourselves.
Yeah, you don't really enjoy talking to the press that much, do you? I mean, there's been nothing much written about it, and you're almost as if you're reclusive to a certain extent.
Well, we don't do a lot of interviews just for the sort of reason that everybody just always screws up. I mean, I don't know what every other sort of group in the world's like, but when we talk to people, we just sort of talk to them like, you know, somebody you know or something. You sort of tell the truth, and it just hurts so much to sort of have to do that when you read it, and it's just a lot of lies and misquotes, and they take bits out of context and make something out of them. Anything like that. It just really sort of hurts, you know. I mean, if it's different if you sort of put a front on and you've got a sort of, you know, a manifesto to stick to. You just talk about such things and you want to talk about blah blah blah. But I don't know. It all seems like one.
Really. You don't really have any control over it. You can only sort of be what you are or whatever in an interview, and they just. You know, it's entirely up to them.
Do you think that people take much notice of what gets printed in some of the magazines?
It does when there's sort of something. For instance, there was a quote in one of the magazines we did an interview for. It said, "Oh, we all take lots of drugs, right?" And that's what it read. That's what it read. That's what it read like. And you know, let anybody that sort of read that, maybe if there's somebody young read that or something, think, "Oh, they take drugs. I think I'll give it a try too," or something. But in actual fact, that was sort of said as a sort of joke, because the question would be, "Well, what do you think of this sort of goody nice image that you've got?" And then we go, "Ah, fuck off, we take drugs," that sort of thing, you know, just sort of a laugh. But as soon as it's down in writing, you know, that sort of looks completely
different. Didn't give any indication of how it was said.
Didn't sort of say, "We take drugs," they joked, and all that sort of thing. Just, you know, it's bad. People just sort of do that. I don't know why.
I guess they like to think they've got some form of power. You know, I suppose in some respect they have. How do you go about constructing your music? I mean, it's obviously fairly layered, but what do you start off with?
It depends, really. Depends completely. Generally, sort of, I don't know, just anything. It varies.
Do you look to particular things for inspiration or not?
As far as what the music's concerned, or the words, or
music,
the lyrics. No, it's just play. Yeah.
You don't get to play very often, you see, you don't get to write very
You just
often.
spend so much time doing interviews, you know.
So,
I think sort of around about, is it 2 weeks on Thursday? I get to play my guitar 2 weeks on Thursday.
that's what it's like, really.
Right, you enjoy playing live?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's a different sort of thing altogether though from being in the studio. Because when you're in the studio, you're actually doing something positive and creating something new. Something sort
It's just
of
total
spontaneous.
concentration when you're in the studio.
Because the way that
You just go ahead and do it because
yeah, I think I can answer this now. The way that we would usually structure a song would be start with Simon as well, you must remember, but he's been a bit quiet just now. He won't sort of say much. We'd sort of probably start the drum machine or something, program it, get a nice sort of basic thing, and then play along with it. Just play along with it, yeah. I'm getting a bit screwed up.
my dad uses his hands all the time.
Shut the fuck up, right?
Just not Italian. It's Italian to sing, because the Italians are really good at that, aren't they?
So anyway. Well, it doesn't seem half as graphic with the hands. But anyway, we put the drum machine down on the tape, right? A guide drum. Usually start with something like piano or bass, because that gives you sort of firm structure to sort of build up on. But then recently, when Simon's been sort of working with us, we've been trying sort of actually playing together. Try to make things up together, which is different completely. It's always a bit of a pain because when we go and play live, you've got to take the record along the rehearsals and play it and try and sort of figure it out. You know, because everything's usually on sort of first takes and things. Just sort of making it up.
Right. Lyrically, a lot of people would get frustrated by the fact they can't actually understand what you're saying. I mean, how do you respond to that kind of, I suppose, a criticism?
I think I feel a bit sorry for them. I feel sorry for me as well. I don't know. I just wish they'd take advantage of it. They could really use that.
Right. Well, the
Stop
fact
being so narrow-minded.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, well, just because I haven't sort of had anything like that before.
Well, I could be singing anything. I mean, I could be singing things that they would be sort of really against, like I could be raving on about Hitler or something, you know.
Oh no, I can just see that now. I rave on about Hitler. Quote, that's the sort of thing after.
Cocteau twins are fascists.
But
No, I mean, it's like, you know, it's I mean, I'm not saying it's sort of radical or anything like that, but in the 50s and everything, when people first heard sort of rock and roll music, just sort of, at first they sort of go, oh, you know. I mean, it's just not right. I'm not saying it's anything like that, but it's similar sort of reaction that people take to, because they haven't sort of heard anything like that before. They don't want to know. In actual fact, if you listen to it very closely, you can make out every word she says. It's not usually the actual words that's difficult to make out. It's just because they're not always sort of everyday words. The words are sometimes quite unusual, but they're all sort of English words and everything. A lot of people say that she speaks, you know, Hungarian and all that sort of fucking thing.
or my mum said, oh, that sounds like really old English. Like
That's
the
right.
oldie worldy.
Some of it's old Scottish words and things, on treasure, but you hadn't used much Scottish words before that, had you?
No.
And do you pick a lyric for the way it sounds, or does the word actually have to sort of have some meaning?
It varies. It just depends on the word. Depends if I like the word so much just by looking at a word, and it doesn't really
Could be that
go
word
with
that inspires
other words I want to use.
the
Or
rest of it.
if it doesn't actually, I mean, not everything pieces together. But I don't see why I shouldn't use something if I like it so much, I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to have to use it to get it out of my system because I like words.
So you sort of see it as a purging of yourself when you actually record something. You feel that you have to get it out of your system before you can be content or whatever?
Well, yes, I suppose so, because, well, that's, when something inspires you like that, you know.
This is
And we
something
don't-
that you really like, you know. This is like, you're saying all the things and she's going, yes, no.
It's wonderful. I mean,
We
it's so
spent
difficult.
7.5 hours speaking to NME the other day, and the guy's line of questioning was sort of, why? Why what? You know, it was just so vague. And we said absolutely nothing, because you were just giving it all these things like, why do you do this?
Who was that with?
That was Danny Kelly.
Danny.
And it was really sort of, you know, it was so vague. It's like the whole interview was talking about
Based
this,
around it.
and we didn't know what it was.
And he didn't know what it was either.
And it was like, oh, it's pathetic.
I don't know how it's going to write it all out.
I think what you would say in your trade is it's going to be extremely bad copy. Unless he just sort of makes something up or something like that. Which has happened the last time we spoke to NME. Yeah, anyway, Carol. Oh, it's okay.
When did it come? It didn't.
I ran out, told you not to bother and sent when it's around tomorrow morning. Yeah. Never mind. Oh, I guess we can't talk about it anymore.
Well, at least we've got something down on tape about it.
What are these?
So far away. I said, shall we go and do that with Grove? An hour's walk just about.
This is Simon.
Hi. I'm Doug.
That's true.
Yeah. In case we'll better fill you in a bit, we're in the middle of a radio interview, but some Australian thing where he's featuring an LP and everything, and got a little interview going.
Right.
And that sort of
Lost the
thing.
lens this morning again.
Not again.
Like the last time I went, this was about 3 or
Last
4
time she
weeks
dropped
ago
it
or
down the
something.
toilet, I had to fish it out. Is this it, honey?
I ripped
No.
it
Is
accidentally.
this
He
it?
said, you know, when he said, you must be taking it out a bit too vigorously, dear. You know, simmer down, you know, be a bit more like fingered in future. So of course I was sort of, you know, really, I didn't want to do anything nasty to them, so of course I got to take it out all nimble fingered and stuff. And of course I went to spray it with my aerosol and I went shooting across the other side of the room.
Is
Yeah.
that what you do with it?
Yeah, you have to spray it to get all the nasty stuff off it so you can put it in your eyes, see?
So it's on the floor?
I don't know where it is.
Are they soft ones or hard ones?
Soft ones.
Yeah? Oh, more coffee.
Thank you.
God,
Who was your
fucking
first
hell.
phone call from?
Don't think much there's been
Yeah.
in business, but
Was
share
it?
one coffee between four.
Maybe that's fixed last time.
So what's it like then?
Well, it's absolutely bare at the moment.
If you've got an extension in the toilet. You wouldn't know what
Put
that?
it in the bath, yeah.
What?
Illegal.
Is it?
A telephone extension.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not that.
I think what you mean now. I did an extension of the toilet, I was thinking from the bath. What is it? You can do it when you're in the bath.
Anyway, domesticated rubbish.
Right.
So we're the new flat's in where? Shepherd's Bush.
Shepherd's Bush, yeah.
Okay, so how did you first come to be involved with Robin and Elizabeth?
Well, I think I might have said this before somewhere along the line.
With this business, you know?
Yeah. Well, we met at a gig. So I'd known Ivo for quite a few years. He's the bloke that runs the record company. And we'd arranged to go to see a band called Felt.
Yeah, I know. My Steve ain't yet.
Basically, look, he introduced me to Robin and Liz there, and we sort of had a few drinks, and then a few more, and then quite a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what happened. We sort of ended up in the studio, but by accident.
Because he lied to us. He says, you can come and rehearse at the studio, he says. And then he wouldn't let us rehearse.
No, it was a bit of a misunderstanding, which we won't go into just now. And well, after that, they just sort of said, "Would you want to come and do some recording?" And that's how it all happened, really.
Right. So in fact, the three of you are now Cocteau twins. Is that right? I mean, you're a fully paid up member.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. This Mortal Coil. How did you all get involved with that? First off, Robin.
Ivo asked us.
Right.
That's all.
Well, he just came to you with a song and said...
Yeah, it's his baby. He should have been here last week interviewing him, because he was in doing his interviews last week.
Yeah, I've spoken to Ivo about it. I mean, not in a sort of official interview situation. I thought it was actually quite amusing, the fact that Ivo was sort of doing interviews. And
Yeah, it's quite funny.
I mean, especially the way that he slags us and insults us for sort of every time we do an interview, and then we moan when we sort of read it afterwards. Oh, this is a bunch of lies. And he's been sort of reading some, he's going, I never said that. I never said that. So it's sort of like,
He did one on the radio. Like the first one he'd ever done, I think, was on the radio. And we taped it. And we were rehearsing the other day, and we played it because he hadn't heard it. We played it as he walked in the room, heard it through the PA, and we turned it on really loud.
What kind of letters do you receive from fans? Did you get much sort of fan mail, if you like to call it that?
We don't actually get as much as we used to, do we?
that's all because we never write back.
That's not true.
I've got a big pile in the house. I've got a big pile in the house of ones that we have to write back to, about that size, because we always answer back to them. We've got a big box about that size to write back to.
So what kind of people write to you? Is it completely across the spectrum?
Yeah, completely across the sort of, you know, I'm 38 and I've never written to a band before. This is my first ever fan letter. I just like to say I think you're blah blah. I'm a 14-year-old girl, you know.
I think Elizabeth's wonderful. Listening to your records and going and doing my O-levels and things like this.
Right.
16-page chronicles of their life. It's quite sweet.
Right. Treasure, the new album. All of the album song titles. How did you come up with those? Are they just names that you liked that you would assign to the tracks? I presume Ivo is dedicated to Ivo or for Ivo.
Well, all of them are, I suppose. We just... I just like that name. I wanted to use that name.
I don't know, it just seemed a bit sort of...
I wanted to use that name. Oh, that's
because of the way that the songs are structured, that particular group of songs, it'd be silly to sort of call the songs, you know, just by a line out of them. A line out of each one or whatever like that. That'd be a bit silly. Because of the way that the vocals have been sort of structured, it's patterns and things, as opposed to verses and choruses. They just seem sort of right. We could have called them anything, just listen down there, calling people's names. I mean, originally they were just going to be, there were no titles at all. But then we thought, how the fuck am I going to get my publishing money and my PIS and everything then? I better get titles.
What track is it? Utterly. It sounds, well, when I first heard it, it sounded almost like bits of Tubular Bells. Had you been listening to that before you? Have you listened to that? Tubular Bells?
I've heard that.
I've heard that.
It's good.
Yeah,
as far as I can remember.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of the chord changes and the way that the is it the guitar is put through a chorus or that kind of. Anyway, the sound is. I thought maybe they've been listening to Michael Oldfield.
Oh, yeah, Tubular Bells. That must be one of the biggest selling records of all time. I've ever heard it. Of course, that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that built this place probably. Yeah. What did you do before you were in the Cocteau Twins?
What, musically? I was in another group on Situation 2. And
I didn't know you used to wear pink jackets.
yeah, we were glad
What group was it?
It's called the Drowning Craze, which I'm sure you've never heard of.
No, I've heard of them, but not heard any music. So
Well,
I haven't been in this country that long, 2 years.
Yeah, it was quite a long time ago.
It was very good because we liked them when they had the records out. This was like when Ivo introduced us, he goes, "Oh, this is Simon from the Drowning Craze," and so I went, "Oh, we bought all your records, man. Can we have your autograph and all that sort of thing?"
So it's a mutual admiration society, isn't it? Do you plan to do like a full-length tour of Britain and play lots of places? Does that kind of thing interest you or not?
No, not a bit. No, when I say not a bit, so next week we're going to play 8 gigs in a row. Fairly in London, but that's not so bad. No, we've actually went through that before. We played 46-day tour with OND, all about Britain and Europe, and that's just sort of 1983, beginning of 1983. Hear that?
It's sometimes difficult to know whose tummy it is that's doing it.
Went for a curry last night.
Oh, don't! Oh my God!
Anyway, yeah. So just sort of after that tour, or just sort of the end of that tour, we actually finished it early, so it was almost at the end of that tour. That's when my other bass player buggered off. So you could say that touring's not very good for the sort of groups, really. Coffee, go get some coffee.
I think you should go and get the coffee.
Go on, because we want to talk about you.
I know.
I can go and you can go and talk about music.
Oh no, we shouldn't.
What's happened? What have you done that before?
Oh no.
So we interviewed once.
God, I just remember what I said.
And the guy we finished the interview, the guy just doing a little Walkman and he sort of went like this, he goes, "Well, I'm just going to the toilet now, just sort of wait on me." Switched his Walkman on.
We had it off for about 10 minutes. He said that's the end of the interview.
Yeah?
You know, and I'll be up now. I'm just going to the loo. And he had the Walkman in his hand and he walked over. It was in Ivo's house, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he just switched it on as we went out of the room. And then we were talking about it again. What?
Oh no, that's not true.
It is. We did.
It isn't, because you left.
That's sort of little lie in a minute.
I know, because I started talking about the swordfish. The swords of these fish that I just bought, and I was going, do you like them? Do you like
What do you
them?
think of these two then? You know, and they've been the sort of journalist and the interview with the photographer and
God,
that.
and of course, he started shaking and trying to attract my attention because he thought I was talking about that as well. Because I was talking about these fucking swords. Oh. Embarrassing. Oh no.
Oh no, I think I was talking about the swordfish just now, Robin. Testing. That fucking thing. That's really sort of cheeky, that. I mean, that's really horrible.
Well, I mean, you know.
Never mind.
He must have wanted to know what we really like. That's what we like.
Have you got any ambitions, say long-term ambitions, either personal or for the Cocteau Twins?
Yeah, I suppose we must have, really. Well, we'd like to get somewhere to live, somewhere good to live, somewhere that we can have a studio at, right? Because we sort of got one, but it's sort of
someone else's house.
It's in somebody else's house, right? I'd personally like to see a bit of the world, because when you're in a group, it's about the only time you can go around the world without having to pay for it.
We still want to make the record as well, that we're always going on about.
Yeah.
The record, you just made it. What do you do after Treasure? Because I mean, it seems almost as if it's too perfect.
It's no.
But where do you go from here? I mean, what?
It's easy.
What's the progress? I mean, how do you progress from here?
Well, you just don't think about it like that. You don't think, we've made Treasure now, what the hell are we going to do? It's nothing like that. It's more a case of, well, we've learned a bit from that one. We want to do something better.
I think we don't have too high an opinion of that record, at least personally. I don't. I mean, it's good, but I know that we can do sort of, light years better than that. And we will, eventually.
How do you feel?
So we don't sort of sit about and go, right, let's make a record that's sort of like, let's make this record a definite move on from such and such. We just, when we go to the studio, we don't have any ideas or anything. We just go and just do it.
How do you feel? Well, what's your reaction when you listen to Garlands now, or don't you listen to it?
Well, we don't listen to any of this. I haven't heard any of these for ages.
Well, I had to listen to it because I had to learn a couple of them. And it was
when you're rehearsing.
It was good because
Learning them again.
it did capture something, because that was the first record and stuff. So there's, I don't know what was there. I don't know what's on it. I can't describe what I felt when I heard it again. I did cringe as well, though. There was definitely a lot of nasty bits on it.
We was in the studio doing a couple of backing tapes a few weeks ago, and we were playing these old multi-tracks, and we were just going, what was that? What's that? It turned out it was 12-inch A Pair of Dewdrops drops, and I just sort of forgotten all about it. I never done it or anything like that. Well, strange. Just sort of, no recollection whatsoever. Is that us, Simon?
But what are some of the places that you'd like to travel to?
Oh, Australia, isn't it? No, actually we're planning on coming to Australia this year.
Japan?
No, next year.
What, to play live or just to see the place?
Play. Well, we've been talking with our agent, and he's been saying that we could maybe go back to America and play some there, and then from America go to Australia, play some there, play a couple in Japan, and then go home. That'd be really good.
We have to do them all in one go, you see.
Right.
Because it's too expensive.
Right.
Don't want to sort of start doing it until we know that we can do it without losing lots of money, because we don't have lots of money to lose.
Yeah. I mean, the album is what, number 20, 28 this week? 28, 29?
52.
It's gone
down, has it?
50 something.
Yeah, don't worry about
So how many days do you anticipate doing in America? Because I mean, touring across America is sort of well known for testing any bands.
We're going to do 4. I think that's it.
Last time we went, we played 3.
It was good. Well, the gigs were good. People reacted really well. Yeah.
I will end up doing about half a dozen in America. We didn't go to the West Coast last time, we just stayed on the East Coast.
I'm dreading it.
In fact, we just stayed a little bit on the East Coast.
Especially after what I said.
So what did you say about them?
Oh, well.
What, Americans?
Oh, they're just so wild, those people. I just couldn't get to grips with them. I thought,
They're so bizarre.
it nearly broke me.
The most undignified race in the world. They've got no dignity whatsoever. I mean, can you walk down the street with sort of
Teddy bear
muffs? I mean, everybody's. Me and Liz are walking down the street and everybody's going, wow, well done, look at these. Look at these sort of wild people. And they all got fucking teddy bear earmuffs on and all this
They're
stuff.
really wild people.
I mean, come on, there's something wrong there somewhere.
Whereabouts was that, in New York?
Yeah.
Where's
It was in New York and Philadelphia, that's all we went to.
we met like 3 brilliant people, didn't we?
Yeah, we met a few
They were
people.
brilliant, and that's because they weren't very American.
Yeah, I went to America at the end of September. I went to Indianapolis, and they're rednecks. I mean, they're just, it's unbelievable what they're like. I mean, they don't believe in walking anywhere. I mean, they'll drive, 200 yards to go to the shop, get in their car. The whole thing is so automobile oriented.
Sounds like my brother-in-law.
Unbelievable.
You know, my fucking brother-in-law got in the car. I can't. I mean, I'm not very good at distance. I couldn't sort of give you an idea of what the distance was. But he was going to the ice cream man. He got in the fucking car, to the ice cream man. He got out, got his business, got back in the car. I can't tell you how short it was. It was very short. I'm not joking. It's like incredible. And he had to go a longer way. Like, this is just like you had to cross a road, and he was in the sort of cul-de-sac bit. And we had to go all this roundabout way just to get to this fucking ice cream van. And if he just got out and just walked across the road, he would have been at the ice cream van. It's incredible. It's incredible.
When you play live, what kind of response gives you the most pleasure?
Well, definitely ones where everybody's sort of paying attention to what we're doing and people haven't sort of got Walkmans on and
where people actually go.
People respond. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. I suppose it.
I mean, if they sort of clap and cheer, that's good.
Really.
Yeah.
Right.
If they clap and cheer, that's good. If they throw things at us, I mean, at least it's sort of provoking some reaction.
Have you ever had things thrown at you?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Really?
We've played hundreds of times, We've done it all. Yeah. No, the worst thing is if there's just sort of no reaction.
That's really bad.
If it's just like, when you're sort of playing away and you see all the people sort of talking to each other and walking away to the bar and going to the toilet and everything.
It's really rude. And it's also when you've played really, really chronically and you're just sort of on the verge of suicide when you walk off stage. Everyone's going, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
A religious experience. Yeah, the whole thing was completely out of tune all night. Simon had the wrong set list, so he'd be playing the next song when we were playing the other ones. We'd just be so bad. And that's usually the ones that everybody say are the best.
Everyone thought it was just awful, and they never want to see you ever again, and I'm never going to listen to your records ever again because they thought you were rubbish.
Yeah, you come off stage and go, hey, everybody, that was fucking great, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't know.
I've got to go there.
Bye.
Have you got a manager or do you manage yourselves?
Yeah.
Don't be managed.
We don't manage. We just don't manage.
You haven't got somebody
No.
takes their 15% or something and does things for you?
Don't do it. 15% nothing's nothing.
Ivo does a lot of work for us. And
He tricks us. He says, can you go along to Vigil on Monday to do an interview? Yeah, sure.
bring the Knickerbocker gories all right.
So it ends up with 6 interviews, photographs and things like that.
There's what?
6 interviews and photographs.
Photographs?
Yes. Found out last night.
They didn't tell you beforehand? That's ridiculous.
Well, that's nothing.
Well, that's nothing. Let's not start fighting about our record label.
I was so preoccupied with
What?
other things.
What other things have you occupied with?
Or just sort of day to day plus, you know, doing the business, the bizzle. Just
I don't know what she's talking about. I think she's making up.
Oh no! Who's making the coffee?
Always start
Let's roast.
always sort of start griping halfway through the interview. It ends up, I end up bad mouthing everybody in the business.
You mustn't bad mouth everything.
Are there any performers in the business that you actually look up in awe to?
Yeah, we love them all.
Yeah.
Anybody involved in show business, we love them all.
Hey.
We don't dislike anybody, at least we're not telling you because we might sort of bump into them one day or something.
That's terrible.
No, there must be some people you like with others. I mean, are there any people that when they put something out or make it?
Yeah, people with
David Byrne.
Burn.
Very well, I suppose. Well, I don't know. I don't think about him.
There's quite a few people that sort of are completely unknown and haven't even got record deals and things like that we like.
Look at that, isn't there?
Look up more to those people than the people that are supposed to be, you know, the clever ones.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, I guess we don't really get time to listen to music a lot, really. I mean, you sort of put a record on where you're making a tea or something, but that's not exactly sort of sitting down and listening to music the same way that we perhaps used to do.
From sort of a few years ago or something.
Because you haven't got the time to hear anything or see anything.
It's funny sort of being in contact with it. We've got this sort of, well, how do you describe it? Backline. Sort of a roadie, you could sort of call him. Sort of strange bloke, you know. But anyway, this blue-collared worker. Yeah, anyway, Colin, our sort of faithful assistant, and he gets a lot more time to sort of keep up with all the new bands and things that are coming out. So he's got a lot of friends that are sort of journalists and things, and he's forever going, "Hey, have you heard the new blah blah record?" They'll play it, and it'll be some god awful round. They'll be going, "Oh, this is a new thing," you know. Oh yeah.
Well, I think the Cocteau twins are original. I mean, as opposed to a lot of other bands around that aren't original. I mean, it's just sort of rehashing old ideas. And it seems that like there's very few people around that are actually doing something that's new and original.
I like him, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's true. That's true.
Yeah. Difficult because I mean you never get a chance to I mean if there are other things that are sort of sound new or whatever you're trying to say, I mean where do you hear them? Where do we hear them? Because we just don't get the chance.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Sure there are some good
saying
groups
things
around
to each other, like you're saying how good we are, and I mean, listen to this. I mean, I think you're really original. I mean, how do you feel about that?
You don't know it yet because you've never heard this radio thing, though.
No, I'm just sort of...
It's terrible, you know.
Someone's saying things to you like how great you are, or how indifferent they feel about you, know, how much they don't like you.
I mean, you couldn't sort of provoke us into saying, "Oh yes, well I think we're really original because we're just so fucking good," you know, something like that. Because we're too close to that sort of music to sort of realise if it is original or not. It's just sort of what we do.
Do you listen after you've made a record? Do you listen to it like at home and like incessantly after you've made it?
Never. I listen to test pressing and see if that's okay.
After that, it's on the next one.
You're usually really sick of the record by the time it comes out.
Then you have to go out and play it live.
Yeah.
Well, that's different.